everyone, and welcome to another fabulous webinar. Today, we are very, very honored. We've got an amazing crew today. Two of our fellows from SSP America, super excited to hear from an amazing individual representing Oracle restaurants. And today's topic, of course, the future of smarter enterprise dining, SSP America's journey as they've gone down this path with Oracle and TipHaus. So to introduce myself, if you do not know me, I am Kurt Grogan. I am a COO and co-founder over here at TipHaus. And now I'd love to introduce you to several of our other amazing guests here today, starting with Nikki, if you'll take it away.
Hey, my name's Nikki. I'm from Oracle. I've been around for 25 years within the Oracle Micros industry, working with SSP for a good 15 or so years. So nice to meet you all.
Pleasure. Great having you here, Nikki, and thank you. Next up, we have Todd Kaufman, of course. Todd, would you introduce yourself?
Sure. Todd Kaufman, CIO of SSP America. Been with SSP America for about 18 years almost, and been in the hospitality industry for about 25 years.
Outstanding. And, of course, David from SSP as well. David, would you give yourself a brief intro here?
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. David Vonderschmidt. I'm a project manager for the IT department for SSP America. Been with SSP America for 14 years with a little break in between. And I'm happy to be here and join everybody.
Outstanding. And thank you very much for being here. So to kick this off, really, we would love to understand, Todd, a little bit from your side. Why does tip management matter so much for enterprise hospitality operators right now? And when you're thinking of like Oracle and TipHaus, how do we have to work together? How did we fit into this conversation for you?
Sure. Throw it all in one big question. Why not? So first, let me start off SSP America, what we do, because we're not everybody familiar with us, but we run restaurants and airports. So we run in North America. We have about 300 or 450 restaurants across about 60 airports in the U.S. and Canada. All different brands, full service, quick service, coffee shops, some of our own brands, licensees, joint ventures, and a lot of different ways. And so for us especially, tip management has become kind of twofold. There's been obviously the traditional tip jobs, bartender, servers, where cash is just not in the business as much as it used to be. So having cash every day and having to pay the cash service at the end of the night has become more and more complex, more and more bank runs. Also, of course, our people work late at night, and there's a safety concern at the end of the day walking out on tips. But more importantly for us, especially where our real need came in, was with the rise of quick service and tip sharing. As more and more quick service places accepted tips, were very heavily unionized, as unions insisted on having more tips for that as well. Same with tips on kiosk and mobile ordering. All that and how that tips got divided, how it got split equally, fairly, and traceable transparency became a huge issue for us. And that's where we had to try to find a solution. And that's where we kind of moved it to looking at TipHaus and, of course, Oracle. For us, the requirement really was one that would integrate with our POS and be transparent for every transaction.
I love it. And thank you for the robust answer. And Todd, I'm going to ask you to hold on to that microphone. Nikki, if you please take it away.
Yeah, so Todd, I've worked with you for a number of years, but for those people who don't know SSP as well as I do, I was going to ask you sort of to cover off a bit more about the footprint, but I think you've done a lot of that. But the scale of you guys over in the US and the Canada area, do you just want to enhance on that a little bit so that people fully understand exactly what you guys are up to?
Sure. So as I say, we're about 450 restaurants spread out with all different kinds. So we have grown. We're now a little bit over $1.2 billion in sales for the last fiscal year. And so have grown a lot. And when I tell you we run all sorts of different, we actually have almost 190 different brands that we run. Anywhere from the names you might know, Shake Shack, Buffalo Wild Wings, and Pete's Coffee, in certain locations, to our own brands, Urban Crave, Camden. And then, of course, we do a lot of joint ventures with local partners. We highlight our taste of place. So we find in certain markets brand partners with us that go in there so we can bring what they're famous for from street side and bring them into the restaurant environment.
Cool. And I think maybe it's worth noting that, from my history with you guys, it's not just SSP America, right? When we're talking about the global brand that yourselves have, if correct me if I'm wrong, roughly 36 countries. So yeah, those brands and the complexities that come with operating just within the remit that you're talking about, it's pretty hard going. You know, you're in airport locations. How complex is that, and what makes it so different?
Yeah, it becomes incredibly complex. And you're right, Nikki, we are part of SSP Group, which is international for 36 countries, 8 different regions, and spread around the world. SSP America, I'll brag, is, if not the very close to the biggest region revenue-wise. And so it does become very complex in the airport environment, especially when you're talking employees. We have unions. We have requirements from the client, who's the airport. We have our brand requirements. We have mandatory hours at times, mandatory offerings. So even like if we have a slow airport or a gate closure or anything like that, very often we're still required to offer breakfast, lunch, dinner, late night. So it becomes very challenging in that sense.
Yeah, I had the delight the other week of a delay, and yes, I can fully understand somebody who's stuck there for an additional 7 hours, not through the fault of SSP, just through the fault of the weather.
I do hope that when you were delayed, you spent your time drinking at one of our bars.
Of course I did. Of course I did. Yes, and I had a sandwich too. Yeah. You got SSP have clearly scaled over the years. You're forever growing. You've got a great story behind you. But what sort of goals have you set as an organisation for yourselves, for your staff, your team, for your operators, for management?
Yeah. So I mean, we have our goals. We are a taste of place. We want to be the food travel expert, and of course, to be honest, we really do want to be the best part of the journey. We focus on a team effort. We have our own challenges. We really want to continue to always innovate, whether or not that means technology or a new way of thinking things. It's not innovation. It's always a technology way. So we always want to be up there on how we're doing things, always question it, always have curiosity around how we're doing it, why we're doing it. Is there a better way? Make sure our staff feel appreciated. We have programs of attitude of gratitude to ensure our staff feels appreciated. And then we have those good relations. And often again, I will bring it back to TipHaus because, when a couple of years ago after COVID, when we did have the rush of trying to get labor back in the business. Obviously, I don't think it's any secret if you think we're restaurants and airports that COVID absolutely hit us hard. And so when the rebound came, and the rebound came fast, trying to staff back the units was challenging. And we wanted to make sure it was a place that people wanted to come back to and they wanted to enjoy working. And of course, that was a place where tips really exploded into the scene. And we needed to find solutions that, be honest, at that time weren't really out there. There was a lot of digital tip solutions for the traditional bartenders and servers. But when you start talking a big environment, multiple units, people that switch between units on any given day, there wasn't really a solution. And TipHaus helped us become the innovative partner that we want to be with our employees, that we could figure out what they want and how they should work, what a solution should look like. And TipHaus was able to build it with us.
Fantastic.
I love it. Thank you, Todd. And we're gonna pivot this to David. And David, Todd had a number of nice little slogans there and rhymes. So I'm not going to put you on the spot to think of a few yourself. But I'd love David to turn this to a little bit of the operation side. So when you're thinking of it from that end, what are the biggest challenges you face when you're managing daily cash tip outs, especially across so many revenue centers, so many different concepts? What are those challenges that you're facing daily?
Yeah, some of those challenges just include just the fact that these servers, these bartenders, these cashiers who are getting these tips through a digital portal now instead of cash like we did in a flow many years ago, is how does that money kind of get directed to a group of people? So there's a lot of challenges that comes to that, especially when you talk about a cashier. You might be only talking about 1 or 2 cashiers that might be on staff with a lot of other people helping to support to give that great service to a guest. And because that person who is ringing the cashier is the one who is completing the sale, all that stuff is coming in underneath their name, and that tip then also comes underneath their name. So being able to distribute that to the group who's also providing that great service is definitely a challenge. And when that comes down to it, there becomes a fairness or a bias that could happen in the business on who is going to be on that cash register drawer. So a lot of creative things were happening to do that, switching people around every 2 hours, which causes a lot more work from a supervisor or manager position. But also, if you do create a great system at some of these locations, doing the paperwork that goes along with distributing tips to whoever was working. And sometimes those are half shifts, sometimes they're full shifts, sometimes they're in between, and so multiple documentation has to be done, and then the storage and then the distribution of those tips. Where we're going to keep them until we get to give them those to people, all creates a lot of different type of opportunities for some mistakes, some definite time commitment to doing all that work and managing all that work. But also from an employee's perspective, they all want to get a little bit they want to be part of that. And some of them are being eliminated that because they were in a position where somebody who's running a register drawer, they were responsible for that money and they were going to keep that money. So some of those challenges really is what came about, and how are we going to conquer that with making it fair for our team members, and then making it also something where we're not having to put an extra burden on our leaders who should be managing business, not managing a spreadsheet or the distribution. So giving them more time to do that as well. Like Todd alluded to as well, got a lot of different unions as well. So those unions are different from site to site as well. So being able to have a solution to distribute these tips that's flexible, that doesn't put you in a box that says you have to do this throughout your organization. Being creative and flexible with those kind of solutions was really what we were looking for when we partnered with the TipHaus team, and have been able to accommodate that very ability to be flexible from unit to unit to site to site.
As well as throwing the transparency and the compliance, right? As we don't want our managers studying tip laws for a particular state or region. And so to understand that and be able to have the transparency behind it, to be able to explain it to anyone who asked, it was a huge aspect.
I love that. And this is something that faces every enterprise group. Major kudos to you all. Before TipHaus, even just taking on that challenge, right? You're making sure you're trying to take care of your staff, trying to get your managers to, I love the idea, manage the business, not a spreadsheet with it. So David, when you're looking at from a manual tip handling, the speed, the accuracy, staff trust, transparency, all of those going together to what you're at today, what was the number one concern you were facing with that? And what do you think that total shift has been? Have you completed that? Are you feeling that there are better impacts in those areas?
Absolutely. The impact on that has been amazing. Our team members are much more happy with the way that tips are distributed. There's a fairness and equality that they see. Using the TipHaus app, they can see also in real time what they're receiving, how much of the pool was generated, and how much of that pool they were able to receive. So they have all the visibility that was not available when a manager was going into a back spreadsheet with very sensitive documentation in order to pull in all the kind of sales and create everything, and then do manipulations and math calculations, and then of course counting the money up. And we were talking about managers who are literally sitting at a desk and putting piles of money and putting it in those piles, including the coins, and sliding them around. All of that is definitely quite antiquated. Putting it on a paycheck as well is something that allows people to do many different things, from budgeting perspectives, from their personal finances, to take advantage of different benefits that also arise. When you are putting tips on a paycheck, now you're having the advantage of increasing your contribution to 401k. It gives you all those advantages. So where we went from some very manual, having to run a report every 2 hours and split the money up, and everybody's huddled in a corner while we have guests waiting out in front, is something that impacts all of us. So it's not a good look for the guest perspective. Team members are also then being scrutinized. This has now happened all through the value of technology, and very seamless and incredible on how easy it is not only to manage the situation, but also for people to trust it. And it's created a great retention, because you're looking at now, I'm making X dollars more an hour, and you can actually see that equation. Not you walk home and that money goes in your pocket and probably goes out just as fast, and you really don't know how much you made this past week additionally in income from those very appreciated gratuities that you're getting from team members, or from our guests, excuse me.
No, absolutely. I think that's a great piece. And then, Todd, you mentioned earlier the COVID side, and David, I'd love to hear your side on it. Like, when you're looking at, obviously these are big initiatives. You're making a major commitment to go forward with this. You're going to involve a lot of team members to make sure you get it done right. But what was the actual push to look for a better solution? Was there safety? Was there compliance? Was it strictly COVID and it gave you an opportunity to rethink this? What made you look for that better solution?
So the answer is yes. It's again, if we go back, I think there was multiple pieces. There was always the safety issue. There was always the cash. Our business has changed, not just our business. The world has changed, right? Percentage of cash transactions over the last 6 years have been cut in half at our places. And so there was a matter of the cash and the runs, the transparencies. There was, David made a great point about the 401k and the other benefits to ensure that you're not in arrears and there's no big tax or surprise at the end of the year for servers and bartenders. So I think all of that is what triggered a little bit of it. But I will say what absolutely made it a priority after COVID is, as we got people back, as we were recruiting people back to come back to the business and come back to the staff, and the explosion of tips in QSRs, and how we're going to split that up and how we're going to divide it. And we can all have our own opinions about tip culture, but tip culture is not going away. And you can hear from the accent that Nikki is not from the U.S., but the tip culture is spreading more to other parts of the world than disappearing in the U.S. And so it's not going to change. It's going to continue to grow as tip culture does grow. More employees obviously want to take their part of it as well and want to take advantage of that. And again, we want to be there for the guests. We want to be there for for our employees and our team, and we want to help them, and we want to be competitive in the market. And so, taking those tips and understanding how we're going to divide them up, to David's point, in a way that is transparent, in a way that they can view, in a way they can see it down to the actual transactions, was extremely important and became the big driver.
I think that's a great answer. David, anything you would like to add to that piece?
I think Todd summed it up very, very well. I think the only thing that I kind of add to it is the bit of technology that he did bring up earlier in his conversation, and that's more of the digital ordering and kiosks and those as well, and being able to take and track that money and get that money to the people who are functioning and doing those jobs. It's not really any triggers in the industry at this point in time. You kind of will see that dollar, you go into a report and you split it up as well as you can. Using the TipHaus platform, that's all handled, and it handles it just like it was a person contributing to a tip pool. Same way with any other digital ordering that goes along. So I would say, in addition to all that, and a big push in not only our industry, but in a lot of industries, is more of those self-ordering type of scenarios where people are willing to tip a self-ordering device. And because they know that just because they're placing the order, the people that are providing the service, providing the product, are the ones that are really the ones who are doing the hard work in the industry, and showing that gratitude, and then being able to distribute that money to those very deserving folks is another great asset to our company, and an ability, again, to share that with our employees and let them know that technology is our friend with this, that we can use this to be more efficient, but you also have the same benefits if a person was there taking that order right in front of them.
I love that. And that's a great call out, that no matter how technology's role play in, it's always the people doing the work, right? It's these individuals that are making this meal possible and making the service possible. So I cannot thank you enough for both of y'all. Well-rounded and thought out answers. I really do appreciate that. Nikki, I will throw it back over to you.
That's okay. And before I carry on, you've reminded me, Todd, when you were just talking about COVID, it's that topic that we all like to forget about that happened. But looking back at the news and recalling in my memory all the planes lined up on the ground, and we'd run out of places for them to park up. I mean, you guys, I lived this horror show with you guys of where 90% of the business was closed globally. And for your team, when they went one day where they were trading and everything was operational to the world stopped. And then once you got back on your feet, suddenly tipping stopped because cash almost stopped straight away. And when the small sort of startups happened and the small travel was allowed to happen, the team that actually stood there and serviced every guest, every customer at possibly their own risk, because we were still quite scared at that point. We forget that happened in life, but it's shaped to where we've got to now, and you guys have come out amazingly well on the other side. But yeah, it was just a flashback of that memory that I'm sure that none of us want to relive. Anyway, but it's important because you guys you've chosen Oracle Symphony as a tech stack provider. Can you give us a little brief summary of why you felt that we were that one that was going to provide that for you?
Sure. Oracle Symphony was as I talked about in our airport, our business is complex. We have multiple different types of business, anything from the bars, the restaurants, full service, quick service, coffee shops, bakeries, pretty much all. If you name a type of restaurant, fast casual, anything, we have one. And so we needed a system that was going to be flexible for all of that. With all the technology and all our partners, we needed a technology that could handle the day-to-day POS, but could also integrate to all the different partners we have. Our IT team at SSP America we're not building our own apps. We're not building our own products. We do believe in a best of breed strategy. We do go out to the market, usually find the best provider for what we need. And of course, we need a POS that will integrate with it. Whether or not that's our workforce management, whether or not it's our digital tip system, whether or not it's our inventory, whatever it is, we needed to integrate with it. And I can't overstate how much we still need to do the most basic POS stuff, obviously, for no matter what the concept is. So Oracle Symphony absolutely gave us the ability to configure whatever we did need to do it, however we needed to work on the ground, and ability to integrate with the other products, especially now. And I'll freely say I've been Oracle. I've had a relationship with Oracle in one way or form for probably better part of 25 years. And I can truly say that today's Oracle Symphony with the STS Gen 2 interfaces, the ability to connect to the APIs and to be able to go out and get the best of breed and connect it back to our POS is the key factor.
Oh, and I much appreciate those comments. So it would be the next obvious question, therefore, would be, what made you pick TipHaus?
Well, listen, I'll be honest. TipHaus, nothing knocking against Oracle and Nikki, but TipHaus has been one of the best IT vendors we've actually had. We've given them actually now 2 awards at our conferences back to back. Not too
well done.
right there, but it is comes down to the innovation. When we were first looking for this, as I mentioned, I can remember coming out of COVID. I think it was 2022 is when we really started discussing it. When we really needed a solution for the kind of problems we were having, and we talked to a few of the different tech vendors, both the direct competitors of the digital tipping, as well as some of our workforce management and some other solutions. And most of what we got was, this is what our product does, and we're open to some ideas, but mostly this is what our product does. TipHaus was very much, this is what our product does, and what ideas do you have, and was very receptive, incredibly receptive to where we wanted to go, incredibly receptive to what kind of what our issues were and what possible solutions. And honestly, that's continued for the last 2-3 years. They have continued to work with us. We've come to them with problem statements often. And I usually tell them my idea. They tell me their idea. I tell them why my idea is better. and they will usually go with it. Well, sometimes they might be right, but
usually
they're happy. The important thing is they will help us find a solution, and they've done it in good speed and good time.
Good.
I really appreciate the comments, and I'll give a
why it's all true. I also do expect the check to be showing up in the mail.
Absolutely. That's going to be coming from John Evans himself, so you just text him about it.
I'd like to add, I'd like to see my award next year as well for the support. But yeah, moving on. Let's head back to the question.
Let's do it. David, I would love to pivot this to you. Tell us a little bit, like we were talking big picture. We were talking understanding how we work, what the outcomes of these things are. But can you walk us through a little bit about how the integration works and what Oracle Symphony's ability is, what TipHaus's is? How does this all play into practice from an actual on-the-ground situation?
Yeah, so I think I just want to piggyback before we get off the subject about the partnership. The one thing, and this does kind of coincide with what your question as well. The implementation team for TipHaus has been absolutely amazing. They're very supportive, always there, very responsive. Todd says we've given awards. I can tell you why. It's because those people who are doing the work every single day are excellent at what they do, fantastic with customer service, fantastic with solutions and generating solutions. And so being able to deal with that, it makes the integration very easy. As far as how everything works is through API calls and through the beauty of technology. We are able to take the data that we get from Oracle and the sales data and put it into TipHaus, and then able to then take that and customize it from every single one of our different concepts, needs from union perspectives, customized rules that allow us to distribute tips on daily, weekly, monthly, or hourly basis, a time of sale basis. So going through the actual ingestion of the data and then the distribution of that data, the seamless connection that we make with Oracle to get that kind of information into the TipHaus to then distribute it is absolutely, there's no hiccups, there's no nothing that stops any of this information from going straight out. From a timeline perspective, then, as you're going to do something to set up a new site, by going simply through the connections and creating that API, the data starts flowing. We can then develop those rules that go along with it to distribute it to whoever needs to go. So from a basis, it's really quite quick to set up all the systems, especially with the partnerships we have built. We do bring them on. We didn't bring on everybody at the same time. We brought them on site by site because we needed to customize site by site. There was a necessity on our part to do that. But it created a lot of creative solutions along with using the already systems that are already set in place with TipHaus.
And to add, just if I can piggyback for a moment, when David talks about the API and the robust, and this is both for Oracle Symphony and for TipHaus, we're not just talking sales data. We also have labor data, right? And we have part of the labor data being captured on Oracle. We have another time card system, workforce management system that we use that also has part to play, as well as goes to TipHaus. So Oracle is providing not just the sales data, check by check, the check detail information, but also helping us with the employee, the punch in, punch out, the job code that they used at that particular moment, how they were set up when that transaction came into play. It helps feed our workforce management again, all through the back end on APIs and seamlessly, any time card adjustments, all that stuff. And it really does help. We got down to where you can see it all. And I keep going back to the transparency because it's so huge. As we talked to union and Kirk will remember, we had to answer what happened to the extra pennies. Yeah. If at the end of the day, you're split in 3 cents among 5 people, what happened to that penny and how is it factored in, down to, I think it was the hundredth of a second, might have even been the thousandth of a second on when that transaction happened based on who was on the clock. So when we talk about the ability in both Oracle and Symphony with the APIs, especially STS Gen 2, along with TipHaus and our other partners, that integration becomes key.
I would agree with that. And Oracle has a fabulous API. They've been wonderful with it, and they're great partners on it. So I love, we can't do anything on that end without Nikki and a great team over there at Oracle making this possible. Let's move here, team. I would love to chat briefly, a little bit of a speed round, some easier answers, I would hope, or at least more direct answers for you. So David, I'm going to throw this right back to you first. What kind of time savings have you seen across airports when you think of TipHaus and Oracle working together?
Yeah, I would say you're taking at least a 4 hours a week type of scenario down to 15 minutes of review and discovery. So you're talking about a huge difference. And that's probably just actual hours. You're probably talking about more, but that's literal hours of calculation, 4 hours a week to minutes.
I love it. Todd, speed round for you. Oracle, Symphony, and TipHaus, always, everything has to work together for payroll. At the end of the day, right? Payroll is where rubbers meet in the road. How do you feel about payroll speed and transparency on that? Accuracy, of course, with it.
I felt incredibly comfortable. We have challenges with payroll at times, but it's not between Oracle and TipHaus.
Sure.
We have a third-party payroll vendor, but the accuracy of the information, which becomes so key. Again, especially with unions and being able to show the transparency, it gives us a high confidence. It's not questioned. As if it is questioned, we can clearly show all the details, but better, the employee themselves can see the detail. It's not hidden. They don't need to go to their manager or to the HR person. They can see that detail themselves and compare it to that paycheck and get the information. So incredibly, the compliance around it, to understand the tip laws, to understand who gets it during the break. We kind of glanced over it, but parts of the time saved, as well as the compliance, the tip story that is written for every single one of our airports, where it's downline. I highlight what do you do with the extra pennies, but the tip story that's written about what happens to every single tip, when it's rung in, who rang it in, who was on the clock, whether or not it was a kiosk or in person or order ahead. However it was rung in, everything has an exact tip story that we can go back to and point to it. So there's no hidden thing, no curiosity around it. Everybody knows exactly where it is and has trust in what hits that payroll.
I love that. And David, next question coming to you actually is perfect segue from that. I want to chat a little bit, understand, have you noticed the staff trust increasing? And Todd, I think that's a great segue answer into it. But even things like employee retention, hot button topic, post-COVID, even before COVID, of course, but let's say it's been amplified significantly. How does employee retention look?
It's definitely made a huge impact, especially when you talk about union environments where it's a little bit more difficult to sometimes satisfy that demographic. It's made it a big point for that. The trust is very high, and I think Todd alluded to them being able to transparently see things on the app. Very much true, and what that does also is it allows for proactive resolution if something does come amiss. If somebody clocked in on the wrong code, or if they forgot to clock out, and all these things can be seen very quickly and remedied well ahead of time, instead of chasing it down at the time of payroll being completed, or God forbid, after payroll is completed when you get the paycheck and it's short or large. All that is very, with many different eyes on it, it allows us to be proactive and solve issues. So I think that also develops that trust with the team members, that if they identify something that needs remedy, we can get it done right then and there and very quickly, and things can be pivoted in a short amount of time.
I love it. And David, I've got one more question for you. And before I do, though, I do want to say I already see questions coming through in the live chat. Next stage is a live Q&A. So if you would like to throw a few questions in there, we'll tackle as many as we can over the final 10 minutes here. But David, final piece for you. Obviously, Oracle and TipHaus sharing data, making everything concise, easy on that front for you, gives real-time visibility, especially for a place as many locations, with unions, complexities going across it. Anything that has helped to shift in your operations? Has it been able to highlight potential errors or issues, anything like that just due to these connections and these softwares working seamlessly together, that you've been able to adjust proactively or reactively on your operations side?
Sure, absolutely. I think we kind of hit on a couple of them with punch record edits that need to happen. A lot of the rules are developed on how long you are on a shift and how much you get to that.
Sure.
Those are alerting us that, hey, we have somebody who's missed a clock out that could create a larger sum to somebody and a shorter to the other. I would say the other thing that is amazing to this as well is because we do deal with some kiosks and other items. I'm sure everybody has experienced and a customer who has maybe erroneously put in that $100 tip that was supposed to be a $1 tip by adding too many zeros. All those things are transparent now, and we can go ahead and attack that. Not only does that help in the long run because we're not, again, at the end of the shift, somebody's going to be paid out that $100, then somebody's going to be having to chase down the other 99 somewhere. This way, we can get that fixed, not only to make sure that we don't have to do that extra work of chasing down, but also protects the guest as well from those unintended errors. So you do see some of that, but having that information as well, incredible. It also allows for, again, a lot of great reporting that you can see from how much everybody's sharing, how much money people are increasing their wage by using our dashboards. But I think probably the biggest one is being able to see being proactive about some of the results that we get in there and being able to react before it becomes a larger issue. No mountains and molehills, I believe.
I love it. Thank you, David. Thank you very much. And now looking over here. So I'm going to highlight a question, and it looks like David and Todd, these are primarily for you, at least the first ones that I have scrolled through. So first question coming from Kayla: how did employees respond when they heard about adding a software? And there's a second question right after that from same Kayla: how did you communicate that to the staff?
Yeah, that's a great question. They all chanted how great IT was and happy. No, and obviously it's a shift, and there was some concern about not having cash daily. We offset that with the earned wage program we have, and I know there's multiple choices for it, but we rolled it out at the same time. We did an earned wage access, so while we were telling them tips were going to go on paychecks, they could still access their tips the next day if need be. But it was actually, that has not been widely used. It's used at times, and I'm glad we have that offering. But once it starts showing up on a paycheck on a regular basis, it was okay. On how we communicated it, it depends. So generally, I can give, I'll let David answer because he's the one that actually did most of the communication. But I will highlight that it was dependent on if there was unions. Sometimes unions have certain rules about how we communicate and get approved process. And so obviously we followed those, and then there's some non-union locations, which we did a little more straightforward notification. But David, I'll let you answer the communication piece.
Yeah, we do have a robust communication program that we go along when we are implementing this. And so after a kickoff with the leadership, we follow that very quickly up with being able to provide flyers to be posted throughout the units for people to read on. We also do a robust communication digitally through our scheduling system, Hot Schedules. And we then make sure that it's in our shift huddles. We will also provide at times as needed some seminars, some learning opportunities. So we'll do a presentation where people are invited to see and learn about what TipHaus is all about. So something like a live webinar, kind of like what we're doing here, get some Q&A to get any questions that people may have. And then we do record those as well and post those recordings where they do have access in our learning center. So we try to err on the over communication, but when you're dealing with a large amount of staff, there's always going to be some of those opportunities where that some people get more, some people get less, and some people choose to tune in, and some people choose to tune out. But we do our best to make sure that we create as many venues and as many opportunities for them to discuss this and what the change is going to be. And I think it's also giving them an ample amount of time to make those adjustments as well, because it is a life-changing event for a lot of servers and bartenders who've been doing it for 30 years, where money is in their pocket every single day, to being every week, 2 weeks, and understanding that scenario.
I do want to highlight that this was a key piece on how we did to roll out. To David's point, we didn't roll it out all at once at all locations. and where TipHaus did help us, and the flexibility of Symphony actually enabled us that even at an airport, in some airports, we rolled it out not even all at once at the airport. We did some units versus before the others to let bartenders and servers, for instance, see and get trust in what was happening with the QSR people. And so they could get the faith in that it was going to be correct and be more comfortable with the move.
Thank you. And Tom Miller, I see coming up next. How did implementation with TipHaus and Oracle go? Were they hands-on during the process?
David, I'll let you answer that. You've been more involved.
Yeah, TipHaus is very hands-on. As far as Oracle goes, they help us with the API and create all that information. But with this implementation, it's very hands-on with the TipHaus team. Sometimes I get them on too many calls that I've gotten that feedback for. But they are always willing to help. Everything is in lockstep. They're there from the very first meeting all through not only the implementation, the testing, and then the deployment of it. And then they're constantly for support afterwards. So as far as hands-on, I have someone who I deal with every single week, and sometimes more than once a week, who are constantly working lockstep and are extremely well supported and do an absolutely wonderful job.
And I'll also add that why TipHaus is hands-on and Oracle, we didn't need them as much because they are our partner and the API has the information needed, which is just a key. This wasn't something we had to build with them. It wasn't something we had to go back and forth. It wasn't something we had to pressure on Oracle to help build. The truth is that the API just had the information we needed, or that TipHaus needed. And so it was able to do it quickly and easy on that piece.
I guess from my point, I would just add as well that the piece that SSP may not see is when we work with a third party or a partner, it's the integrations between us and TipHaus and the customer, the end user, yourselves, SSP, or anyone who's here listening to this, aren't part of that. So our integration, our talk, our tech challenges are between us. You just see the integration through the API at the end as an end result. So yeah, nothing needed from Oracle other than open the API up.
Open API and keep it accurate, right? And I know that's not necessarily your role, Nikki, but you're the ambassador for Oracle, so you're going to get the praise on it today, which I agree.
Yeah, I'll take that.
Absolutely. No, from the customer standpoint, it should just work, right? And y'all have been a great partner in that piece. I know we're running low on time, so let me get to Sanjeev. I see a question coming here from you. Are you collecting tips on digital kiosk ordering? How are you splitting tips from this digital channel? And how are associates getting, lots of questions. I love that. How are associates getting paid, payroll or cash card, et cetera?
Great. So we are doing tips on digital kiosk and ordering for the most part. Again, varies airport by airport, but for the most part, we do allow tipping on there and use it. And that's part of the tip story. So as we roll it out, and again, based on union or non-union and what the union is, we have the open dialogue about what happens to that tip that left there. And that gets put into the pool, or if it's a digital order table, for instance, it goes directly to server, but it's still going through Oracle Symphony and then still gets feed in the TipHaus. So really no different at the end of the day because it all works seamless, because our kiosk and digital solution also works through the Oracle Symphony API, that it all flows in there and TipHaus is able to pull it. And we discuss on the tip story how it is. For us, we do put it on their payroll. They do have access, as we mentioned, to the earned wage access program we have, where they can choose to have it put on a card or deposit to the bank account directly and early. But the default is that it does get added to their paycheck.
Thank you kindly, Todd. And with that, team, I know we've got about 1 minute left, and a couple of the questions that I have seen are actually hinting at how do we see these? How can I get more information? Number of items around that. Simple. Thankfully, you've got 2 QR codes you are welcome to scan if you would like to link. Please come and chat with us. Always happy to discuss how this works together, and would love to continue with the Oracle pieces. I mean, they've been a fabulous partner. So if you were utilizing Oracle, we're happy to work with you. Obviously, if you are not utilizing Oracle, there's a nice QR code there to get chatted and start with them. So Thank you. Amazing to Todd, to David, to Nikki for joining. Y'all are welcome. Any final words or thoughts to the audience here today?
No, again, I appreciate everything you guys have done for us. TipHaus, like I said, has been an amazing partner. Oracle Symphony, again, such a long way in the 25 years on how well it works for the partnership and how well that API actually is for the STS Gen 2 that we have the complete and utter faith. So thank you both for all the work that has been done to help us handle the issues we were facing.
Thank you, Todd. And with that, team, I really appreciate you all jumping in. We are 1 minute over, so we're going to call that on time, but we'll push it to a wrap. You can follow up with all of us as needed. Scan that information, and we'd be loving to chat with you. And with that, I'll wish you all an amazing rest of your Thursday. So thank you, everyone.